Planet Dolan.
From feeding an imaginary alligator toys to repainting a bedroom's walls with shit, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from Reddit about the weirdest things we ever caught a child doing. I'm Cookie, and today I'll be your narrator. This story was submitted by Angel Fox Swan. One day, Chalky smelled an odor of burned plastic coming from the heater vents. He called a friend of his who worked in heating and cooling and asked him to come over. When Chalky's friend arrived, he went into the crawl space where the furnace was to investigate what was going on. About 15 minutes later, he asked Chalky to give him 3 black garbage bags through one of the vents. And he did. Later, his friend came back up with the garbage bags filled with plastic toys. Chalky had wondered where all of his little brother's toys were going. So, he asked why he had been putting his toys down the vents. His little brother answered,
"There are alligators down there. If you don't feed them the toys, they will eat our sister."
This story was submitted by Quivering Mass. Paprika was in the bathroom when she smelled something awful. She looked for the source of the smell and found it after opening the cabinet under the sink. There, she saw that poop had been packed in the empty toilet paper tubes that were stacked in the corner. Suspecting her 5-year-old sister, Paprika asked her about it. Her sister admitted to doing it, calling them poop bombs, but didn't explain any further. Paprika thought that her sister was more focused on making more poop bombs than why the hell she was making them in the first place. This story was submitted by Wendy Windfall. While babysitting a little girl one night, Pecan noticed that she was slowly stirring chocolate ice cream into mush. Puzzled, she asked the girl what she was doing. With a very serious expression, the little girl answered,
"I'm making poo-poo for God to put in people's bottoms."
Out of everything she could have said, Pecan certainly wasn't expecting that. This story was submitted by Singe420. When she was little, Spincess and her mum lived in an attic apartment that had a huge cockroach problem. One night, Spincess was watching TV when she felt the urge to poop. She thought that if she went to the bathroom and turned on the light, cockroaches would be everywhere, including all over the toilet. If she saw that, she felt that she would be too scared to sit on it to do her business. So, Spincess took off her nightgown, squatted over it, and took a shit. When she was done, she panicked over what to do with her now soiled nightgown. That was when she got the bright idea to stuff it in the hamper and wait to dispose of the evidence the next morning. Well, the next morning came and went, and when her mum pulled the nightgown out of the hamper, at that point, Spincess knew she was in trouble. And it was confirmed when her mum yelled at her about it. This story was submitted by Onlu the Wolf. Wolfgang's little sister, when she was 18 months old, found out a way to crawl out of her crib. She also learned how to take off her diaper. One day, Wolfgang and his family had some relatives over. The next morning, everyone was very slow to wake up. Around 7:30, Wolfgang woke up to hear a noise coming from his little sister's room. He climbed out of bed to investigate. When he got to her bedroom, Wolfgang saw that she not only climbed out of her crib, but had also taken off her diaper. Apparently, his sister had pooped in her diaper overnight because he noticed that she had repainted her walls with it. Even though it was years ago, Wolfgang will never recover from the trauma of the smell. This story was submitted by Rebecca. Melissa's mom caught her doing something very weird. She watched as her daughter took eggs from the kitchen and brought them into her bedroom. That in itself wasn't weird until she learned what her daughter did with the eggs. Melissa made her blanket into a nest and sat on the eggs, hoping they would hatch. What her mom didn't catch her doing made it even weirder. After a few days, Melissa realized that they weren't going to hatch, so she put the eggs back in the refrigerator. This story was submitted by KT Lady. When Gergak was a kid, he preferred to poop in the park closest to his house. Every day when he would go to the park, he always saw that his poop from the day before had been picked up. After months of pooping in the park, he saw that a neighbor lady had been cleaning it up. One afternoon, Gergak was in the middle of pooping when he saw the neighbor lady walking toward the park, carrying a baggie. He was squatting on top of a slide, doing his business. He peered out through a crack in the wooden pillars, watching as the neighbor lady got closer. In that moment, Gergak tried to rush it. Once he finished, he yanked up his pants and ran his poopy ass home. Jesus. Shortly after walking in the door, he heard a few knocks at the door. His mum answered the door, and, to Gergak's horror, the neighbor lady was standing on the porch. She had a long talk with his mum. After the conversation, his mum walked back into the house. She threw Gergak a disgusted glare and screamed, "No more pooping in the park!" When he started kindergarten, one of the children of the neighbor lady recognized Gergak and told everyone in school that he used to poop in the park. From then on, Gergak was known as the Park Pooper. This story was submitted by Gitrinka. Back when she was little, Andy did quite a few weird things. The first happened when her mum walked into the kitchen one day. Andy had a full glass of strawberry milk in front of her and drank the whole glass. In confusion, her mum watched as her daughter spit all the milk back in the glass. When she asked her why she spit it back out, Andy told her that it was because she wanted to drink it again. Another time, Andy's mum had hosed off a top and kept it on the patio to air dry. The next thing she knew, Andy was kneeling on the patio and slurping up the water that had pooled on the top. Andy's mum didn't know why her daughter didn't just get a glass of water from the kitchen, or why she spit up the strawberry milk instead of pouring another glass. Those weird moments became instant mysteries. This story was submitted by Cheese! As a kid, Hellbent decided that it would be cool if he didn't have to go to the bathroom to do his business. Being the genius he thought he was back then, he designated a towel in the corner of his room as his toilet, which he nicknamed the pee towel. After pissing on it for a week, the towel smelled awful. At one point, his mum went into his room and asked about the smell. Hellbent just blamed the dog and left it at that. Looking back, he doesn't know why he only peed on that towel, especially since his bedroom was directly across the hall from the bathroom. This story was submitted by Sidani28. Sid's mum was pregnant with her second child. One day, she walked past the bedroom when she heard Sid, who was 1.5 years old at the time, coughing. Thinking there may be something wrong, his mum walked in and saw him standing by the toilet, coughing into it. It turned out that he was just mimicking his mum throwing up, as she had been experiencing morning sickness at the time. This is Cookie, signing off. Goodbye!